Okay, hi everyone. Good evening. Good to uh, join you on this webinar. Thank you for making out time to join us. And we have a very interesting session that is coming up, and I would like to introduce our speakers for today. The first person is Miss Neetu, and she comes with a solid foundation in carbon management, emission reduction, and sustainable practices. And she comes with a she's our carbon trading manager, and she'll be talking from her expert point of view. And next we have Bhubalan, Mr. Bhubalan, who is a renewable energy and lead portfolio manager. He comes with over a decade long years of experience, and his expertise is in uh, he's a lead portfolio manager and specializes in carbon and sustainability, and he has a good record of successfully managing and registering I-RECs. He has managed over 300 REC projects and 350 I-REC projects across various regions, and his expertise includes major carbon and renewable energy registries such as I-RECs, VCS, Gold Standard, and many as such. And we also have Mr. Abjay Arjunan. He's the business development manager, specializing in carbon portfolio management and origination. And he comes with specializes in carbon project development and has a very wide experience and expertise in negotiating and closing contracts uh, for various clients, especially from agroforestry to mass rapid transportation, both NBS and tech-based solutions. So jumping into the webinar for today, I'll be presenting the screen, and yeah, the speakers can take over.
Thank you, Abhishek. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome you all today's webinar, Decoding I-REC, Navigating the Global Renewable Energy Certificate Market for Carbon Corporate Sustainability Goals. Before we delve into the core subject, allow me to introduce the organizations that driving this dialogue, ProClime. ProClime is a climate-first unified service provider built with a clear and purposeful mission to accelerate the global transition to net zero. So we do this by enabling impactful climate solutions across four essential key verticals, which is carbon project, carbon trade, climate investment, and advisory services. Next slide, please. So our foundation is rooted into visions to create a truly pro-climate world where the climate crisis is no longer seen as a burden, but as a powerful opportunity to generate a meaningful change in nowadays. At ProClime, we firmly believe that sustainability must evolve beyond the checkboxes and compliances. So it should inspire genuine, long-term climate positive behavior across government and economic growth and business and communities. So by channeling these forces of the market mechanism, we aim to scale this opportunity, bridging the gap between economic growth and environmental responsibility. To, to share the glimpse of our impact, we currently oversee 9 million tons of emission under management across various countries, and we operate three countries particularly. Our head office is situated in Singapore, and we are operating from India and Sri Lanka. Our projects also situated in multiple places. So, and actively align our project with 17 SDGs. We are majorly focusing with the expertise of six active climate projects in our portfolio, along with growing pipeline. So ProClaim continues to work at the intersections of innovation and integrity and impact of supporting organization to making the measurable progress towards sustainability. So once again, we are honored to have you, each one of you, joining us today webinar. So we explore how instruments like I-REC are transforming corporate climate strategies worldwide. Next slide.
Okay.
So climate change, while it's one of the greatest challenge of our time, and it's also an incredible opportunity for innovative and progress. So the global picture today, global CO2 emissions stand at an alarming 48,400 million metric tons per year. While progress is being made, it's not enough to achieve net zero emission because the carbon dioxide, carbon taxes, for example, carbon taxes contribute to the 5% reductions about 2,400 million metric tons from the carbon tax mechanism. And compliance market under 31 different schemes we have, it lead into the 11% reductions around 5,300 million metric ton. Through the voluntary market accounts for just 0.2% reductions around 95 billion metric tons. So despite of these efforts, 84% of emissions, approximately 40,605 million metric tons remains unaddressed for each year. So this is where the opportunity lies. So our key area for action nowadays, we have to focus. The energy sector is responsible for about 69% of these emissions, showing that the focus of renewable energy can have most impact. Likewise, the other sector also, like such waste, agriculture, and it contributes significantly and needed target solutions going forward. So if we are planning for the path to the net zero, to bridge the gap, to bridge the two gap which we are discussing earlier, we have to focus, invest in renewable energy, to use the verification tool like I-REC to ensure the clean energy production. And we have to strengthen the policy to engage more complaints and voluntary market. And we have to work together through partnership and shared global efforts. So the challenging is big, but so the opportunity, this is the opportunity, right? We expanding current efforts and innovating future so we can make meaningful progress towards net zero future. Next slide. Here, how fast the carbon market is growing and why it's matter for all of us. Around the world, many countries have promised to become net zero. That means balancing of carbon they emit and what they remove. To reach these two goals, the carbon trading and financing market is expected to grow strongly over the next 20 years. There are actually two types of carbon markets basically available in the market. The first one is compliance market, which is regulated by government. This is market is already huge, and the worth is about $850 billion. The second one is voluntary market, where the companies choose to reduce their emissions even if the law doesn't force them to focus. Right now, the market is about $2 billion, but it's growing fast because, in fact, the voluntary market could reach around $40 billion by 2030 as more companies is nowadays committed to climate goals to take responsibility for their reducing their emissions. So, how do these market work? In simple term, in a nutshell, carbon market are like a trading system where companies can buy and sell the carbon credit. So one carbon credit means that 1 ton of carbon dioxide has been reduced or avoided somewhere in the world. So through action like planting trees and building a renewable energy to make an energy efficiency product in our premises or homes, other related cars, bikes. So these all are by using these credit companies can offset the emissions they can avoid. And if they are doing this, showing their commitment to their sustainability, and they easily meet their international standard. So as we continue these sessions, we will see how like I-REC as part of this system and how they help companies to meet their climate goals in clear way and verified way. Next slide. Fantastic. Uh, now this is a very important concept actually. Many of you might have heard scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 emissions. So these terms are often used when we talk about climate action and carbon reporting. While what do they actually mean? And why should we care about that? Let me explain in a simple way. Think of your carbon footprint like a set of invisible footprint you leave with behind everyday actions, whether you are running a business or using electricity on your premises or moving a product from one country to other country. So these footprints represents a greenhouse gas related into the atmosphere, which contribute to the climate change. Many, but just like a real life, our footprint don't stop where we stand. So they follow us through everything we do, directly or indirectly. So there is a three kind of scope of available. To understand the better, I'd like to give you some example for scope 1 emission, which is direct emission. So these emissions from sources that your company owns are controlled directly. For example, smoke from the chimney, the factory chimney, that's also comes under scope 1. And the fuel burned in a company vehicle or gas used to heat your offices. So these all are the direct emissions. These emissions you can see and measure in the right way at your site itself. But scope 2 is which is indirect emissions, that is purchased power. This refers actually the electricity, steam or heat that you buy from the external body. even if you are not directly burning the fuel in your premises. If your electricity is coming from the coal or gas, then those emissions are still part of your footprint. So choosing renewable electricity can reduce the scope 2 emissions significantly. So these all are comes under scope 2 emissions. Now scope 3. This is apart from all two, rest of everything it comes under scope 3 emissions. This is often it's the biggest and most complex category actually. It includes emission from your supply chain, the like raw material productions or transportation, and it produce use of your customers, even disposal of or recycling of the product. So it's everything that happens before and after your product leaves your factory. In a simple nutshell, scope 1 emissions might, for example, I'd like to tell you for an electric company. Suppose you have the manufacturing unit, that electric bike. Your scope 1 emissions might come from the welding or painting your factories, or your scope 2 emission come from the electricity powering the factory. And your scope 3 emissions, they are, I say, right, it's complex. So they include emission from mining a metal, shipping a parts, or customer use of the bikes, even the customer is recycling process after 25 years. So why this is important is it gives you the full view of your climate impact, because you can easily identify where the biggest reduction can be made. And if you're doing this, your customer or investor want to see the responsible climate action companies, definitely it will increase your company reputations. And because of the regulations on the emissions, increasing the globally of your companies and being proactive help you to stay ahead. So what we can do about it is the first step, you have to assess your company emissions across all scopes. So there are many tools available in today to help you to do this. Once you understand the footprint, you can start reducing it by switching the renewables. So improving energy efficiency, this is very important. In the premises itself, you can do a lot of energy efficiency activities. For example, if you are using for 18 watts bulb to lightening the power of the floor, instead of doing the 10 watts bulb will provide you the same efficiency and same lighting effect, you can use 10-watt bulb, so you can reduce 8 watts of power where the production using the coal. So remember, even small actions add up big steps. So understanding these scopes empower us to take smarter climate decisions and to build a better future. So to close these sections, I would like to encourage everyone not overwhelmed by the complexity. Awareness is the first step. So each step we take to reduce our emissions is a big or small. You don't worry about it. It help you to move toward cleaner or greener world. Next slide. So together we address one of the most pressing issues, I say, the climate change, right? So as a witness, we are alarming consequences rising of climate temperature. The left slide, it shows we confront CO2 generations. Many of everyday activities, procuring electricity to powering our house or business, it contributes to greenhouse gas emission, whether it's through grid or open access or self-generation, actually it from the fossil based power plants. So our reliance on the traditional energy sources fuel to fire the climate change. So however, the the bottom of the cis, it says renewable energy. By harnessing the power of sun, wind, or other renewable sources, we have the opportunity to mitigate the effect of our climate change, to safeguard our planet in the future generation. So what we can actually make the difference is to start with each of us taking responsibility for our energy consumption. So in the right side, actually, we have an option to reduce our footprint by installing solar panel uh, to our rooftops, or procuring complete green power to renewable sources through open access, or purchasing I-REC instead of, because many of the countries nowadays, many of the places, they don't have such facility to install the rooftop panel because they don't have such available space. Instead of, they are emitting huge amount of emissions. So we make this transition toward cleaner energy, we must remember the interconnectedness of our actions. The arrow which from the CO2 generation to various consequences, it reminds us our choice for far-reaching impact on the environment. So the society is big, right? But choosing the renewable energy represented the arrow pointing to the renewable energy section. We can redirect the course of our future towards one of the sustainable and resilient. So further next slides. Yeah, so I'd like to introduce my colleague Neetu. Will give you the overview of how the I-REC will work.
Thanks, Balan. Very good evening, everyone, and I welcome you all to this session. So now let us explore how do the I-RECs work and who consumes these I-RECs. Okay, so across the globe, you can see companies like come from a wide range of industries that are aligning with carbon neutrality frameworks. Okay, that includes GHG Protocol, CDP, SBTi's, ISO standards, and most importantly, the companies who are committing to the RE100 initiative. So why the I-REC has been chosen? So, I-REC provides a very transparent and auditable reporting mechanism which ensures a renewable origin of electricity. So I will be discussing about the RE100, SBTIs and GHG protocols in depth into the next slides. Now, as you can see, the I-RECs are recognized in more than 65 countries. That reflects strong global adaptation. Also, like as of now, till May 2025, approximately 76.38 crores of IREX have been redeemed. That also reflects a massive market trust and the activity. Moreover, IREC it boosts investor confidence among the corporates by demonstrating verified sustainability actions. So, what is the quantity? Like one IREC is equal to 1 megawatt hours of power produced from a producer from a renewable energy source. And the major key stakeholders for this IREC market are the IREC standard, the registrant, aggregator, and the third party verifier. Next slide, please. Now let us discuss in detail like who are the consumers, who are the buyers for the IREX, the end buyers. So it includes of four major categories, that is of RE100, CDP, GHG protocol, and the SBTIs. So let us understand them one by one. So basically, RE100 is a global coalition of influential businesses, that have pledged to power their operations with renewable energy to 100%. So for them, it is IRECs are a trusted instrument that are used to account for renewable electricity, especially in the countries where direct sourcing from, where they don't have the access to procure power directly from renewable energy. In those cases, RE100 is adaptable for IREX. Now coming to CDP, CDP also provides a scoring system that evaluates the company's climate leadership and the environmental impact management. So it is also supports scope 2 accounting in line with the GHG protocol. So scope 2 emissions, which covers electricity usage, can be reported using marketing based methods, and IRECs are central to this. Now coming to SBTi, SBTIs are another direct consumers of IRECs, which are help to that helps companies to align their targets in order to keep the global warming below the 1.5 degrees Celsius, and it also enables accurate tracking and accounting of the renewable energy transition based upon the GHG protocols. So just to what is the major takeaway over this is in scope 2 accounting guidance, IRECs are explicitly recognized as a major instrument for documenting electricity from renewable sources for the corporates. Next slide, please. Let us understand what is the global availability of EACs and the demands for IRECs. So today, as you can see over the map, over 92% of the Fortune 500 companies and major of approximately global 100 companies, they're already transitioning or they're even planning to transition to renewable energy. So this shift is primarily driven by increasing the stakeholder expectations, and also they have the ESG pressures, the regulatory frameworks, and the reputational risk that is assigned with the corporates. So this map highlights that what is the availability of IREX with the growing demand in regions where traditional green sourcing like PPAs are limited. So let us break down why these IREX are can play a major role for the corporates. So the first thing is, as I told earlier, reputational risk. So corporates today face a reputation increasing scrutinies from consumer and maybe investor and or regulators. The second is the regulatory exposure. So neglecting these scope 2 emissions, those tied to electricity, can expose your company to policy changes, maybe some penalties even, and some reputational losses. Next slide, please. Okay. Let me explain how the I-REC mechanism completely works, like in a layman's language, like if someone wants to understand how the I-REC works. So I'll take you this through a case study. Suppose there is a uh, industry intensive of cement, which is ruled by Mr. Adam. So he owns a cement manufacturing company, an energy intensive company. So his company consumes near about 1 lakh units annually. That is split between 50,000 that is procured from discom, and another 50,000 suppose from maybe from open access or captive power plants. So now the regulatory regulations vary based upon the electricity sources. Either it can come from the DISCOM where the obligation lies, or he has to purchase it from the other mechanism, maybe through open access, or he wants to either procure that or he wants to install that plant over his premises. Or another step, like another option, what he has is that he can procure this thing from the I-RECs. So let's say he needs to offset 8,000 units, that is 5,000 maybe solar or 3,000 from non-solar. So instead of installing solar, which may not be financially viable for him in his location, maybe due to land or maybe due to investment or any other policy constraints. So in that case, he can purchase the I-RECs from there. So as you can see, the thumb rule for I-REC is 1 megawatt hour equals to 1 I-REC. So that means Mr. Adam can purchase 5 RX of non-solar and 3 RX of solar from the proper consultant or a supplier, maybe from ProClime. Next slide, please. Now this was all about the like what are how the I-REC works, who are the purchaser, who are the buyers for I-RECs. Now let us understand which projects are eligible for I-RECs. So for a RE producer, which are defined into 3 categories majorly, that is captive, self-consumption, another one is the open access, and third one is the off-grid projects. So now let us understand which projects of captive consumption are eligible for I-REC issuance and registration. So first of all, if the project is not availing any concessional benefits, also he is not registered under in any other Indian REC mechanism, that is a domestic REC mechanism, and not getting any concessional benefits or any subsidies, those projects would be eligible under I-REC. But in case if it is getting any like any concessional benefits, any scheme, green scheme under, or it is under any green scheme of the government, in that case it is not going to get the benefits of the I-RECs. Now coming to the open access. So here also the eligibility is defined, like here also if someone is availing the concessional benefits, maybe in the form of wheeling and banking arrangement, any incentives from the green schemes of government or under Indian REC scheme, in that case also it will be a double accounting. So those projects are also not eligible for I-REC redemption and issuance. Now coming to the off-grid projects which are completely captive, here also if it is used under for their own premises and they are not under any obligations of government, those projects are directly eligible for I-REC redemption and issuance. So this is the eligibilities are from the RE generators point of view, that they can check that okay, these projects are eligible under I-REC and how they can get benefit out of it. So when the corporate buyer, he is willing to avail I-RECs for his scope 2 emission reduction, so in that case he has to go through all the checks that what projects he are procuring, he is justifying all the eligibility criteria. So these are the checks that are definitely required by buyer when procuring the I-RECs. Next slide, please. Now this is a complete I-REC project cycle, like how it works. So once, as I told in the last slide, once we check the eligibility criteria of a project, it has checked all the checking points, all the due diligence has been done. Now when the project is ready for registration, this is how the cycle goes. So the registration process, first of all they need the country approval, that is the due diligence has been done, and then comes the second stage of project documentation. So what all documents is required, there is a set list of documents that is required while registering a project into I-RECs. So once all those documents are correctly checked by the person who is registering these projects. After that, the projects are registered, are submitted for registry checks into the evident. For India specifically, the issuer is ICX now. Earlier it was with GCC, now the issuer is ICX. So all these documents will submitted to the ICX registry, and once these documents are thoroughly checked and all the due diligence and every queries have been resolved from the registrant side to the registry, the projects get registered. After the projects get registered, the project is publicly available on the evident registry, where you can track the project's name and the device ID as well. Also, after registration, you can go ahead with the issuance as and when required by the like how the registrant wants to get the credits issued. So that, for that also, there is a certain set of documents like the generation reports and other metering evidence and other supporting documents at the time of issuance. Those are also submitted, and once the registry does its due diligence, the issuance take place. And after the issuance has happened, those details also are available publicly on the evident registry. So once this issuance has been done, now comes the picture of trading. Like, okay, now we have a buyer who wants to procure like n number of I-RECs from the registrant or the supplier. So there the trading takes place. So for the I-REC registry, there are basically three accounts, we can say: the issuer account, the registrant account, the account from which the device has been registered, and the I-REC participant from where you can trade your account, you can redeem your account, and for the users as well. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this is how. Yeah. I would like Balan to take over this. Yeah.
Sure, Nita, thank you. So actually, what you get this in this transaction, this is for the certificate. You get the redemption certificate after claiming the I-REC. Neetu has explained how the registration process work and how the issuance has to happen, and how the redemption has happened. After redeeming the certificate, you will get the redemption certificate like this. So the claiming consumption of equal an amount of megawatt hour of renewable energy that you purchased. The first page of the certificate shows the consumer company name and the location of the plant, and which period you have consumed the certificate, and what purpose you're purchasing the certificate, along with the which HTSC number against you're purchasing this certificate. Everything is mentioned in the first page of the certificate. For example, in single entity has multiple plant companies consuming power. Each unit has different HTSCs or unique number, consumption number, service number. Each unit you have to purchase the amount of unit you have purchased, power purchased from the fossil fuel based power plant. So the second page certificate shows which project actually produced that renewable energy, and which origin that project from, and what technology is that project is, along with the date of commissioning of the project and the period of productions. For example, if you're consuming 1 lakh unit for the financial year, for the year calendar year Jan to 25, you have to purchase the same year of the production of the credit. While you're redeeming the credit, you have to check thoroughly and properly, because you, after redeeming, for example, if you're purchasing 1 lakh unit for this 25 year, but you don't have the credit available, if you're consuming I-REC for 2024, definitely your designated operation entity will raise the question against you. Your auditor will raise the question. So while purchasing certificate, you have to be clear on which year, what technology, and what basis you are purchasing the credit. So the redemption of it's give you the complete breakup of the certificate. Next slide, please. So this is a issuance status of globally, and let's take a current status. The I-REC issuance with both India and global, it's over 10 years. We've seen significant upstick on the issuance side, particularly from solar and wind sources of India. So this trend underscores the growing adoptions of renewable energy solution, not only for in our country, the worldwide. So when it comes to the redemption also, the same pattern, we observe the similar pattern. How much amount of issuance is happening, same amount of redemption also happening through the same. So what we are trying to say, if there is supply, huge amount of supply, the same amount of demand also available in the market, because each and every country has NDCs. To achieving the NDC, they have to achieve scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 emissions. To achieving scope 2 emissions, to offtake the emissions, I-REC is only the solutions as on today. Apart from if they don't have complete renewable or green power available on the particular region. Next slide, please. So here we would like to show the issuance and redemption trends both in the same stick. For issuance, first global I-REC issuance, first graph was showing. The second graph was the same amount of redemption happening. So we would like to give you some example and show you the proof of evidence. The global I-REC issuance is happening. The similar pattern has happened in the global side, and India also same thing, and Sri Lanka also same thing. Next slide. So before we conclude the today's sessions, I would like to briefly share the wide range of service offered by ProClime. So all designated to help business, institutions, or government to move confidently towards their climate goals, right? So at ProClime, we provide end-to-end climate solutions structured around 3 core area, which is I have informed you: carbon project management, climate investment, and advisory support. So my colleague Neetu will give you the brief about our carbon project, carbon offsetting, and carbon trading, and carbon auditing, and carbon project management, along with how we are investing services, investment advisory, and project financing. So Neetu, over to you.
Sure, Balan. Thanks. So, as Balan told, that we are into various services. We are into carbon projects, auditing, carbon offsetting. Also, we are into climate consulting, where we provide expert advice on climate-related strategies and initiatives. Along with that, we are into certification and validations, where we support registration and certification as per the standards. Now, also along with that, we also work upon managing the carbon portfolio for the corporates. We are very active upon the carbon tradings. What difference we create is that what all credits that we issue, what all I-RECs that we issue are very high quality and verified carbon credits. That is the one assurance that ProClime provides. Also, along with that, the investment services we have is for sustainable solutions for climate change and adaptation, investment advisories, by guiding in sustainable investment decisions for climate related opportunities. Also, we help the corporates for technical assistance and capacity building, that is for preparing the mandate for climate resilience through overall capacity building. Along with that, we also support, provide our funding for climate related initiatives and projects. So this is in a nutshell what ProClime does, all the services that have been given by ProClime to its customers.
In short form, ProClime is your partner at every stage of climate journey. So from measurement to actions, from the investment to impact, we are committed to delivering integrated, science-based, and market-aligned solution to help you to succeed in a low-carbon future.
Thank you, Neetu. Thank you, Balan, and thank you, Vijay, for that wonderful session. And we come to the conclusion of the session. And anybody, if you have any doubts, you can raise it in the chats, or you can type it in the chats.
We have got one question, I think.
Yes, please.
Okay, so we have a question that suppose a company has a total electricity consumption of 10,000 units. It operates at an off-site solar power plant connected to its facility through a billing and banking agreement. Although this captive arrangement, the company consumes 6,000, while the remaining 4,000 is procured from the grid. So the question is, in this case, is the company eligible to purchase I-RECs to cover the 4,000 units of electricity consumption from the grid? Okay. So for this, I would like to answer that, see, the total consumption for your plant is 10,000 units, out of which 6,000 you are already procuring from the solar via billing. Okay. So since it is like already you are procuring from from the renewable plant, that is not eligible for I-REC matching because it's already green. So the grid power, assume it is non-renewable. Okay. So in that case, if the 4,000 units data you are consuming from the grid, that portion can be matched with the I-RECs if the company wants to claim to be 100% renewable consumption. So yes, you are eligible only to claim the 4,000 I-RECs units.
Thanks, Neetu, for addressing the question. Any more questions? If the attendees have, you can please post it on the Q&A.
I think this was the only question like we had.
Okay, everyone. So in conclusion, we'd like to thank you for attending the webinar and thank you for the interesting session. Thank you, speakers. And we would reach out to you. And if you have any further question, you can fill out in the form as well. If you have any queries for the services that you require from ProClime or any more information or doubts that you have, you can definitely reach out to us. And we'll also provide you the email that we officially address the inquiries from. And thank you once again. We'll be doing more of these webinars in the future, and we'd like you to show your interest and participation there as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, Neetu. Thank you, Abhishek. Thanks, team.
Thanks, Abhishek, and thank you everyone for attending.